Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We're live. It's January 21st, 2024. And over the last couple days, we had a couple re-uploads. I'm just trying to get organized in my brain going into 2024. 3 uploads are great because oftentimes I'll re-upload decodes that we've done in the past that very few people saw. And so it's good to watch those again. And also it gives me an opportunity to hang out with you guys in the chat, which is always fun. And what I'm finding now is that watching those older re-uploads, we can also re-decode the decode, right? And we find even more stuff. So it's a very important, and those are awesome, fun shows. Also gives you guys an opportunity to ask me any questions you want and be in the chat with you as well. Now, let's get into today's show, and what's apparent to me at this point, which we started picking up on this all the way back in 2020, is that Trump will be reelected. Now, I remember talking about this back in 2020, 2021, and people thought I was just crazy. I'm like, he's going to be the next president. Watch, you'll see. And sure enough, there were some pretty big clues that were obvious to some of us that he just always was the front runner, right? They always kept him in the news cycle when they didn't need to, when everybody thought it was over for Trump. And with all the legal troubles, throwing off the ballot, I mean, it just went on and on and on and on. It just got to the point where it was just obvious at a certain point that he was going to become the next president. Now, there are some rumors out there, and we'll get into some of this today. They're saying they might throw Michelle Obama out there as the candidate for the Democrats. You guys, all this is meant to scare people into voting. So, of course, if they put Michelle Obama on the ballot, then Trump would even get more supporters. So you have to see past all this. Okay? Now, why are we talking about Trump when he's not even elected yet, even though it seems like he's very likely going to be elected? Well, 2024, if you haven't figured it out by now, is the year of the dragon. And here it is right here, the year of the dragon. Now, in the previous years, we had the year of the cat, the rabbit. You know, we've gone through these years in the Chinese and Vietnamese calendars, and we've kind of exposed what that meant, and it seemed to tie in directly with things that were happening in the world stage and in the timeline. But now we're in the year of the dragon, and this definitely concerns me to some degree. Not that we're supposed to be living in fear, but it seems that things are going to reach some kind of pinnacle in the year 2024 that I believe most people aren't ready for. I'm ready for it, spiritually, mentally, physically, but many people won't be ready for some of the things that may come in 2024. The year of the dragon. Now, what you're looking at on your screen, if you're not looking at your screen right now, is the United States Postal Service stamp of 2024 to commemorate the year of the dragon. And one of you sent this to me. I didn't know that this was going on. But whoever sent this to me, go ahead and, say hello in the chat if you're here today, because this was quite a find. What I found on the United States Postal Service commemorative stamp was 666 encoded into the face of this dragon. Let's zoom it in. So the dragon has these weird flower-like asterisks, I don't know what you want to call it, which of course each have 6, and then the top row of teeth has 6 teeth. So it has 666 encoded into this dragon. The other thing I noticed, now I don't know if this is standard, but they crossed out the word forever, and they may do this so that someone can't just cut this stamp out and use it. I know that sounds silly, but some people do that. I remember I used to reuse stamps all the time. If there was no postmark on it, just peel the thing off and stick it on another envelope, right? So that maybe this is some kind of way that they do this, but this is creepy. Now, think about this for a second. Well, okay, so you're just seeing things that aren't there. Well, look, this is a dragon, okay? Which is the devil is described as a dragon. Wouldn't you do everything in your power as a person creating the artwork on the stamp to avoid any type of, the appearance of evil? Wouldn't you do that? Right? Guys, there's even been simple things like the way I used to spell my name on this channel that I changed because there's always one person that's going to go and try to plug that into a gematria calculator or something, or say, why is that a Z and why is this a 5, and draw some kind of conclusion from it, right? Even though that was never my intention. And so I changed it. I changed it to regular stars so that people would know that there was no appearance of evil. So now you got the face of a dragon with the number 666, which of course is the mark, encoded into it. And that to me is intentional. So what else is going on? Well, we'll break down this stamp. We're going to read what the United States Postal Service announcement was. And we're also going to look today at the very first episode of the new season, brand new season of True Detective. Why are we going to look at that first episode? Because they mention the 3 days of darkness. And we had just been covering that. And here it appears in a brand new episode of True Detective. Now, for those of you that don't know, True Detective is a Matthew McConaughey production. You always get these famous actors doing these bizarre TV series that are supernatural, occult TV series. You got Brad Pitt. He does some of them. You got Obama, of course, and Matthew McConaughey. Now, True Detective was probably the best true crime series that I've seen in terms of how accurate it was. Many of you remember the first season of True Detective. The first murder that they came upon was a lady with these sigils carved into her back in the fetal position. That's how they found her. So there's a lot going on with this, you guys. We're also going to get into today more on black phosphorus inside the needle. Yes, we discovered that it wasn't the graphene that was inside of the needles, it was black phosphorus, which looks and acts like graphene. So technically, they were telling us the truth. Unbelievable. We're going to tie that into rockets and how rockets use phosphorus. Fireworks. So strap on your seatbelts. We're about to embark on a journey into real truth today. For those of you that showed up to the channel, good morning, everybody. Daryl, Lori, Rachel, 502 Freedom, Christy, Asa, Julia, thanks everybody for showing up. Well, let's get started today. Of course, the country is in a deep freeze, isn't it? And what's going on? Well, fire and ice is upon us. And nobody could have anticipated the winter ice age that America is finding itself in, breaking all kinds of records. Except we actually anticipated this back in 2013. For those of you that have been on the channel, 10 years ago, we uploaded The Ice Age is Here. Now, this was based on many things, but most of it was programming. A lot of it was the I Pet Goat 2 landscape from the animation, which was all taking place inside of a snowy landscape. That was in 2013. Look how few views these videos have. And then we reloaded the video. We talked about solar minimums and maximums. And all of this was playing out back then. And now we find ourselves in some of the most extreme winters on record in the last 50 to 100 years. So while everybody was talking about warming, we were talking about an ice age. And here we are. But guess what else is happening? It's not just extreme cold weather. Fire is upon us as well. Fire and ice. What am I talking about? Well, they're now saying that there are record volcanic activity. Now, we were talking about this about a year ago, weren't we? The cult of Tlaloc, the volcano god that they sacrificed to. And no sooner had we said that, months later, they were talking about increased volcanic activity. Now, if you look at the headlines, you'll never figure this out. Look at this. Here's the big giveaway. All I did was a search, volcanic activity increasing. There are no filters on this. And look at how many results come up for volcanic activity increasing. Those should be 3 basic words that should yield tens of thousands, if not millions of results. Except in this case, Google only gives us 278 results. 278. Obviously, a lot of information is being suppressed. The very first result is a fact check article dismissing the fact that volcanic activity has spiked around the world. And then these articles dismissing it as well, but basically admitting that it's happening, why so many volcanoes seem to be erupting right now. And so this is the giveaway. See, this is where they're going to get caught with results, with 278 results for 3 basic words in a search. That's called censorship and suppression. So, fire and ice is upon us. Now, what else we have is the mind police are out in full force, threatening any YouTube channels that do not agree with climate change. They're actually now saying that YouTube is under fire, making money off new breed of climate denial, this monitoring group says. So you can imagine that any kind of disagreement with climate change will be enforced on YouTube. Let's read this. They are coming after anyone who denies climate. Look at, and in the middle of the worst winter we've had in 50 years. In the middle of all that, they're still going to come after you if you disagree with this. The voices that deny climate change have settled on a new refrain. Instead of rejecting the fact that the earth is warming, they're now focusing on skepticism of climate solutions, as well as scientists and activists, and altogether, the idea that climate change will cause harm. According to a new report from the Center of blah, 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 unbelievable. The organization's analysis suggests that the outright dismissal of climate change is no longer as convincing an argument. So climate skeptics are shifting the ideological fight to how seriously humanity must take climate change, or what ought to be done about it. The report also claims that the content policies of YouTube's parent company Google, which are supposed to block advertising money from content that rejects scientific consensus about the existence of the cause of climate change, are ineffective and ought to be updated. So they're basically putting pressure on YouTube. But remember, all these people are on the same team, all right? Now, fortunately, the comments down here tell the story. And I'm not going to click on the comments because they'll say I'm spreading disinformation, right? But needless to say, if you were to click, I'll put a link to this article. You click in the comments and everybody's awake now to this nonsense. They're saying that, of course, the age-old argument that immediately dismisses all this is, why are they flying around in private jets telling us to do as they say and not as they do? That was the main comment that I saw. Let's read this other article about what they're doing. These people are out of their minds. YouTube making money off new breed of climate denial. This might be the same article. Yeah, it's pretty much the same article. Oh, the Center for, listen to it. The Center for Countering Digital Hate used artificial intelligence to review transcripts from 12,058 videos from the past 6 years on 96 of Alphabet Inc.'s YouTube channels. The channels promoted content that undermines this scientific consensus on climate change, that human behavior is contributing to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns, the report said. I mean, they're making people sound like they're criminals or something. This is unbelievable. So, climate denial is now a thing. But again, if you go down to the comments, people are awake. They're not believing this. for a second. So, what else is going on? Well, this phenomenon even manifests in the electric, tens of thousands of electric vehicles that are dead in the cold. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but pretty much what's been happening is these electric cars are dying in the cold. It's like a car graveyard. Now, if any of you have electric vehicles or know anyone who has an electric vehicle and has experienced these dead cars in this recent cold snap that we've had, please let us know about it, because none of this becomes real unless people talk about it, right? Because they've got us all in these echo chambers of authority, right? And if you don't hear it from authority, then it's not true. But if you guys all start talking about it, then people know that it's true. But here's what happened. Look at this. So what do we have here? We have more fire and ice, don't we? Dead cars surround chargers as Tesla struggles in the frozen weather. Can you imagine? I mean, there could have even been people that died sitting frozen in their cars, their electric cars. And the irony here is these cars, when they catch on fire, they burn hotter than anything that anyone's ever seen. So it's fire and ice symbolism. The fire cars inside the extreme cold weather. Let's read. A deep freeze has gripped Chicago, with temperatures plummeting to an Arctic minus 32 degrees Fahrenheit over the weekend. As a result, Tesla owners are becoming deeply frustrated with their vehicles not being able to charge or hold a charge, even after a trip to the supercharger. Can you imagine? You spend $70,000 on a car and you can't even make it home? They're literally calling these car graveyards. Now, of course, the media is downplaying all this. They're downplaying this Arctic blast that we just had. They're downplaying these electric vehicles stacking up. I mean, I'm sure there's TikTok videos of people in their gas vehicles driving by these electric charging stations and just laughing at all the people stuck in the snow. I mean, I don't know if they'd be laughing because it's like an emergency situation, right? But I can imagine there are TikTok videos out there that show this. Let me go back in the chat for a minute because I'm curious to see what you guys are seeing and hearing. Good morning. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Now, we talked about electric vehicles not working well in the snow and cold, right? How long have we been talking about this in our headline shows? But yet, what did we see? We saw that, it's just unbelievable. Let's go into the chat here. Because even as the electric kingdom has consumed our freedoms, people are still walking right into the electric kingdom. All right. Good morning, everybody. I heard they broke and they are trashed, says Thomasina. Yeah, things don't ever quite work the same, do they? After they've been exposed to extreme cold or heat when it comes to electricity. Heck, I left a space heater outside for a while and everything went bad. The battery start. I mean, think about a car battery. And then you get all this like residue that starts building up on the car battery. How do you clean that out of an electric car? You don't. These things are basically giant paperweights at some point. Here's to see and here's to hear says, look at Trump's signature upside down. Yes, we did an entire analysis on Trump's signature about 5 years ago. We turned it upside down and there were fangs. We also showed how his signature sharpened over time. It was more rounded before he became president, and then it sharpened into two fangs, like the two needles that he would impose on America. Weird, right? So yeah, we did a decode on that. You could just probably look up Trump signature or signature on here on the channel and you'll find that. But anyway, are you guys seeing these electric cars just stranded everywhere? Let me know what you guys are seeing. Or have you seen TikTok videos or something on the subject? My phone died faster in the cold. Yes. Now, my first experience with things that are electric dying in the cold was when I went ice fishing. Many of you will remember about 5 years ago, I went ice fishing when I was living in Connecticut, and I had my cell phone. And I remember the guy I went with told me, he's like, all your electronics will die really fast out here in the cold. I didn't really believe him. Pulled up my phone, and you could literally see the numbers dropping like a countdown. I was like, whoa, this is real. Didn't work correctly. Something happens in the cold, doesn't it? Now, something else I saw was I had an electric heater put under the house to try to dry out the pipes. My pipes have since thawed, but in the meantime, I had an electric heater down there, and the extension cord that I had was under the snow. And even that little bit of cold around the extension cord caused the heater to run super slow, like the energy was having a problem getting through the cord. Now, I don't know the mechanism behind that or why that happens, but all I know is it's a real thing, right? So here's where they want us. They've got us right where they want us, right? Oh, let's force everybody in electric cars. And then there's another reason to limit people's mobility and freedom, which is a very dangerous thing in an emergency situation, isn't it? And for the millions of other reasons why the whole thing's just a dumb idea, right? But yet they're forcing it. Now, Britain is leading the pack in electric tyranny. Britain's final coal power plant ramps up power as the cold snap hits. They're literally on their last power plant. And still, people are fast asleep, not demanding more reliable energy. Britain is leaning on its final coal power plant for increased electricity supply as an Arctic blast hits the country. Coal contributed to its largest share of electricity generation on Monday since November. Britain's last active coal plant helped generate 3.4 PCs of all electricity produced in the UK at the start of the week, well above average levels throughout the year. So, can you imagine if this one power plant went down? People would literally die. It would be the end of it. Now, all this may be ringing a bell because we all remember the iconic scene in I Pet Goat 2 with the single oil rig or derrick or whatever you call it in the snowy landscape, pumping out the last drops of oil of all the world. And it seems to be happening now. It was very telling in I Pet Goat 2 because it's all happening now. Now, oftentimes we will get into the elements of the periodic chart, and it's very telling, isn't it? We've looked at lithium. We've looked at sulfur. We've looked at iron, haven't we? We've looked at lead. And a new demon has emerged in the periodic chart. Phosphorus. Why are we talking about phosphorus? Well, phosphorus is a strange element. It's actually called Lucifer in the Latin because it glows. And in fact, car technology for car batteries is shifting towards the more readily available phosphorus lithium batteries. Now, why are car batteries shifting to phosphorus lithium instead of lithium ion? Well, because phosphorus is much more readily available. And what they're essentially saying, Elon Musk has already vowed to remove rare earth metals from the electric vehicle technology, which means the batteries would have to shift to phosphorus lithium. Now, phosphorus lithium batteries are not as good as the lithium ion, but they don't have rare earth elements in them. So what is happening here? Well, the ruler of this world, Lucifer, is about to rule in a very real way, with Lucifer elements in the electric kingdom powering everything. Gives a whole new meaning to transforming himself into an angel of light, doesn't it? Now, the phosphorus is not only in these, will be in the new battery technology. Here, let's look this up here. Here's the iron phosphate battery, okay? Not ion, it's iron phosphate battery. And in this article, they talk about this becoming the next big battery technology, okay? Which goes along right along with what Elon Musk said about the new Tesla technology, right? And they're saying that this is going to become the big thing, but then they talk about the drawbacks of this technology, but they'll still sell this on a wide scale. They'll say, oh, well, it's better than us having to, dig into the earth. But the problem is they're still going to have to do that with the lithium. Lithium is still the main ingredient, and these lithium mines are horrific. So I began thinking about this whole thing, right? The electric kingdom, phosphorus, and then it hit me. I had an epiphany. Because phosphorus is not only going to be in the new battery technology, but it's also inside of something else. Rockets. Rockets. Now, the other day I re-uploaded a decode on a film that seemed to depict Apollo. The boy's name was Paul. Apollo. A is the alpha, O is the omega. So Apollo has Paul's name in the middle of it, which of course is the root word for politics and police. Do you see now what's really happening? The movie that we decoded that I uploaded a couple days ago that I'm speaking about is called Armageddon Time. The name of the movie is called Armageddon Time. Many of you were there for that decode. We scrambled the word Armageddon in an anagram, and it spelled out MAGA Red Dawn. D-O-N. And the movie even mentions Trump's family by name. Fred Trump and Mary Ann Trump. The film is set in Corona Park, where Trump grew up, and features the World's Fair. And in that film, Paul, or Apollo the boy, launches a rocket up into the air in front of Corona Park World's Fair. You know, the iconic twin flying saucers that appear in Men in Black. And then I had an epiphany that rockets use as part of their fuel phosphorus. Phosphorus. Now, what is the problem with this? Well, I explained in that decode that rockets are metaphors. They're hollow tubes that pierce, and that's what the enemy's really trying to do. He's trying to pierce the firmament with these rockets. So they're like giant syringes with fire coming out of the back of them. That's what they are. They're hollow tubes full of phosphorus. And then I was like, whoa, that would be a payload. The payload, in other words, the ingredient in the hypodermic needle hollow tube, is phosphorus. And that reveals the truth about what's in the hollow needle. Because remember, we found that black phosphorus looks and acts like graphene. We read that right out of the black phosphorus Wikipedia article. Now here's some pictures of phosphorus, and here you can see red phosphorus is used in fireworks. So these are in rockets. Now I know that rockets that go up in the air from NASA probably don't have phosphorus in it, but this is all symbolic, isn't it? It's all spiritual symbolism and metaphor. Here's black phosphorus right here in its least reactive form. They say it has little commercial value, but it can be converted to white phosphorus by heating it under pressure. Wow. Now, let's keep going down the rabbit hole here. Here's some pictures of phosphorus reacting. We know that phosphorus is used in munitions. The white phosphorus it's been used to drop bombs. That is happening right now as we speak. It's in weapons grade phosphorus is happening right now. So, who is the Rocket Man, really? Remember Trump called Kim Jong-un the Rocket Man? But remember, everything he calls other people, it's like he's talking in a mirror. Because he is the man in the mirror. So really, he's the Rocket Man. 2 shots and a booster. And that brings us to the Year of the Dragon. Stamp by the United States Postal Service. Here it is right here, USPS.com. Rings in the Lunar New Year with the Year of the Dragon stamp. And look at when they made the announcement. You can't make this up. The darkest 3 days of the year. The winter solstice. Now, why is this being announced by the Postal Service and not somebody else? Well, remember, the USPS is a metaphor for Egypt. It's the Sphinx, the postmark of the Passover. We got videos on this talking all about all the metaphors of the Passover and the post and lintel being marked, which is a postmark, right? And the headdress or the address, the word headdress of the Sphinx has the word address in it. Literally. And then they picked the 3 darkest days of the year to announce this, December 21st, which just so happens to be the birthday of the Antichrist, or will be the birthday of the Antichrist, as we demonstrated in the timeline that we did. So now the whole 666 makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Birth of the Antichrist, 666 on the stamp, and the dragon, Year of the Dragon. And this is what has me focused on 2024 as some kind of pivotal year. Wow. Now, many of you didn't believe me about the 3 days of darkness. I had at least 5 or 10 comments that said, Casey, there's only one darkest day of the year. What are you talking about? It's the winter solstice. No, there are 3. There's always 3. And to prove it, watch this clip from the brand new TV series, True Detective, Season 4. Watch. The opening shots is an ice road trucker driving into the town of Ennis, which is the word send backwards. And the first thing you see on the screen is December 20th, 3rd day of night. Let's keep watching. I have the sound blocked out because they're actually playing a song. I think it's by, oh gosh, who played the song? Bob Marley. It's a Bob Marley song they're playing. And of course, I'd get a copyright, so I deleted it out. But listen.
Third day of darkness, already getting weird. Third day of darkness, already getting weird. Just third day of darkness, already getting weird.
Third day of darkness, it's already getting weird. You can't make this up. We've been talking all about this. And then it appears, it's like almost like they're watching the channel. But no, they're not. Because the thing is this stuff was already filmed. It just hadn't released to the public yet, right? So it's not even that they're copying the channel or gaslighting us. It's that God's showing us these concepts before they emerge, because it helps people to wake up and rely on him and love him and accept his son as your savior.
Water's bad. Turned to shit about 3 days ago. And he'd say, I told you so. 3 days ago. About 3 days ago. About 3 days ago. And he'd say, I told you so.
I told you so. Wow. So, now, Casey, you're making all this up. Unfortunately, I'm not. If you haven't heard by now, Trump has the mark on his right hand. And the media is going nuts. Except they're going nuts in all the wrong ways. Because the true significance of him raising a right hand, knowing that he has this on his hand, it's like blood on his hands or something. There's no Band-Aid. Remember, he's a germaphobe. You don't want germs entering the wound. If anything, he'd have gloves on to hide it, right? It is cold weather. Why not put a glove on? He wants you to see this. This is the mark on the right hand. He could have easily covered this up and did not. It's really easy for him to say, hey, someone go grab me a pair of gloves. I need to protect my hands from the cold weather. But look, there seems to be Band-Aids. Look, whoa, look at this. Let's pull this up, you guys. This is not right. It's almost like he does have, let's find this. What? I didn't even see this. Let's see here. Wow. It's like his 3 fingers have been sliced. You can almost see Band-Aids on here, but they're bloodied. Do you guys see this? I don't know. I could be seeing something that's not there, but see if there's any other images of this. I guess this is the same one. Okay. No, those aren't Band-Aids, right? No, those aren't Band-Aids. It looked like a Band-Aid at first, but it's not. Because just the way the lighting was. But no, those are just his fingers. I don't see any edge to this to his finger there of a Band-Aid. But, needless to say, a germaphobe would have this covered up, wrapped with a glove over it. So you'd never even know there was anything wrong with his hand, right? Now, what makes this even more interesting is that the day that this actually took place, on the 17th of January, which alphanumerically is the letter Q. So, first time people saw this was at his anti-defamation suit, and he came out, and this is where people saw the mark on his right hand. Just weird. Let's see if there's anything in this article here that could give us any more clues about this. Mysterious marks were visible on one of Donald Trump's hands on Wednesday. Look at this. Notice how they minimize this. They don't say on his right hand, because then it would be a clue, right? People would say, oh, the right hand, a mark. But no, they say one of his hands. So they're trying to like shade the truth, right? Multiple photos show Trump waving to the press as he left Trump Tower Wednesday morning with the small red dots. They're not very small. This is like catastrophic, like his hand got pinched into something or something. Heck, I wonder if the other photo was photoshopped. I don't know. Weird. Let's keep looking here. So it's not clear what caused the odd splotches. A spokesperson for the former president's campaign did not immediately respond to Business Insider's request for comment. He did not appear to have the dots on his hand on Tuesday evening, based on photos of his campaign stop in New Hampshire. Later on Wednesday, this judge admonished Trump for his conduct during columnist E. Jean Carroll's second trial. Wow, it's just weird. Now, what have you guys heard about these marks on his right hand? Have you guys heard anything about this? Now, tomorrow we will be getting into Disease X. We're going to look at some videos of the national world leaders talking about Disease X. You guys, X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. We are in 2024. This year will be the year of Disease X. Likely. And we just talked about a mark and a dragon and all that. So something is happening, isn't it? We're also going to get into tomorrow, what else? The controlled demolition of California, as well as more on the Trump psyop. So that will be tomorrow's show. Oh, also I got some Honey Milk Ranch footage of an actual rabbit that I saw hiding in a bush. And the extreme cold. I got some extreme cold shots to show you guys as well with the new camera. So tomorrow will be a fun show. All right, I'm in the chat now. Good morning, everybody. Nice. Yeah, some people are saying he got blisters from golf. Who plays golf in the middle of winter? I mean, did he fly down to Florida? Did he go to Hawaii? If he wasn't in Florida or Hawaii, then he wasn't playing golf in the middle of a winter storm. Come on, right? Come on. You got to use your common sense with this stuff. Unless they can show that he was at a golf course in the middle of winter. He wasn't playing golf course in New Jersey. I can tell you that right now because there's probably snow on the ground. Remember, we're in the middle of a polar vortex. This was on the 17th, which was like last week. It was already sub-zero temperatures in most of the country. Unless he was in Florida playing golf, and we knew he flew from Florida. Because remember, they said that it was the Tuesday, he did not have the blisters. So something else was going on. He plays golf every day in the middle of a polar vortex. Okay. Right. Okay, what else is going on? Yeah, and no Band-Aid. Hey, even Florida was cold. So, yeah. Indoor range, yeah. I mean, people in the Q crowd are going to make all kinds of excuses for this. You know, they could say he was playing golf on a space station and people would believe it. Right? I mean, come on. Daryl says pizza sauce. I wouldn't be shocked on all kinds of levels, right? All right. Has the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness in Amos 8 occurred yet? I don't think it probably has. But you can imagine the enemy is getting ramped up for it, aren't they? And of course, these things manifest on multiple levels. So they're going to show us 3 days of darkness symbolism that probably aren't fulfillment of prophecy yet. But they're going to show us that, aren't they? All right. $32 in Florida today. Gosh, that's wow. That's cold. Joni says McDonald's ketchup. Yeah, that's what came to mind too, Lori. Podesta fingers. That's the first thing that came to mind. Remember Podesta had like that gash across his hand and like something was written on his hand or something? Wasn't that a weird episode? And everyone was trying to decode what that meant. And I looked up hand cutting rituals and I could not find anything. It was almost as if Google had erased the hand cutting ritual. We all know it's a ritual because we see it on TV shows and movies. That's the first thing that they do. They take a knife, they run it across the palm of their hand, and then blood drips out. So that's a thing, right? But yet, there's no Wikipedia article on that ritual. There's nothing on the internet about a hand cutting ritual. The first thing that I get when I type in to research that is I get, are you feeling depressed? We can have you talk to somebody if you're feeling about harming yourself. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the hand cutting ritual. It's unbelievable. This reality we live in. Right? I mean, it's a thing, right? Has to be a thing. Yeah, it's a blood oath. It has to be a blood oath, Daryl. But they don't want you to know that because then you start looking around and you go, wait a minute, my doctor has a large gash on his hand with a thing wrapped around it. Or my pastor has that. And they're like, oh, I get it now. You guys are in a big club. So, yeah, are you thinking about harming yourself? We have help. Call the hotline and we'll make you feel worse than you did to begin with. It's like, wow. No thanks. Wow. Yeah, spirit cooking, all that stuff. Then I did start going down a rabbit hole. I was going to see if I could find a connection between the organs of the body, the human body, and like the disciples or something. I'll cover that right now. I'll show you guys what I found on that. So I looked up they say there's 23 prophets. I don't know if I believe that number because of the weird list that they give. But here's the organs of the human body. And even that number is like, they give you all kinds of different numbers on what that is. Okay. But what I boiled it down to is these major abdominal organs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Except there are 2 kidneys, right? So that brings us to 12. And then I was like, okay, there's 12 organs in the abdomen. And you have 12 ribs on each side. That's got to be the 12 disciples. This is the body of Christ. So I thought that was kind of neat. But then I was like, the rabbit hole ended when I started trying to see if there was something in the life of each of the disciples that could connect to each one of these organs, right? Like, just a silly example would be the stomach. Like, let's say a disciple got punched in the stomach or something, and then that would be the stomach disciple. But then I couldn't find any connections. And so that's where my rabbit hole ended, was here. Or, or maybe one of the disciples was pissed off and he was the urethra or the ureter disciple. I don't know. That was a dumb joke. But anyway, I'm back in the chat. Hey, look, if we don't laugh, we'll just go insane, right? So, I love you guys. And here we are in the middle of winter, and I still have gnats flying around my head. What is that about? I've even got the gnat zapper out. I'll hear it pop off every once in a while in the living room because I've got it next to the spider plants, and it just pops off all winter long. I'm like, where are these freaking gnats coming from? Oh boy. All right, you guys. Yeah, they're attracted because I had some breakfast and they're attracted to the vinegar in my breath, even though I just brushed my teeth. I put hot sauce on pretty much everything. I put hot sauce on donuts. It doesn't matter. I just love hot sauce. And so, no, I don't really put hot sauce on my donuts, but, and so they're attracted to the vinegar in my breath, I guess. And these things never die. I feel like I'm in an episode of, one of the plagues of Egypt. Remember the gnat plague? I just can't seem to get rid of them all. Yeah, why don't you have gnats in your spider plant, Cheryl? I gave Cheryl one of my spider plants because I've got like 500 of them. Actually, I just have 5, but maybe the dogs are eating them. Probably chasing them. All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the morning, bright and early, 7:30 Central Time. We'll get into some of these other topics. I do have things that I'll be decoding in terms of TV shows coming up, but to be honest with you, there's not a lot out there right now. But the next True Detective episode that comes out, I'll definitely be decoding that. I can imagine it's literally full of things to decode. Let me give you the backdrop of the first True Detective episode. Let's see. Let me find the Wikipedia page on that, just so you're prepped for tomorrow. So here it is right here. Here's True Detective. And let's see here. This is season 4. And it stars Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. They were in the first couple seasons. Season 2, Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn. Season 3, those really aren't really known actors. But then season 4 that we're in now is Jodie Foster. Now, Jodie Foster is important because she starred in a time travel movie that I decoded called Contact, I believe it was called. And she's an interesting actress because, remember, she also did Silence of the Lambs. And we finally got to the bottom of what that whole thing meant, because that's actually in the Bible. A lamb sitting silent as it's being sheared. I think Jesus actually spoke those words. So that's the Silence of the Lambs. So it's all about the attack on God's people. And so anyway, season 4, Jodie Foster plays a detective. But she's a detective in this cold town called Ennis, which, as I said, is the word send backwards. And essentially what she does is she stumbles upon a murder. And the murder is a research facility out in the middle of the snow, up near the Arctic Circle. And this is where you get these references to the 3 days of darkness. And I remember way back, gosh, it must have been 8 years ago, we realized that there was a specific point, a specific latitude within the Arctic Circle, or very close to it, where there would literally be 3 days of darkness. Because remember, if you go all the way to the North Pole, they spend 6 months out of the year in complete darkness, right? The sun never rises. Or if you go to the South Pole or the Arctic Circle or the Antarctic Circle, which I believe is a ring around the Earth, but that's a whole different show. They spend 6 months out of the year with complete darkness and 6 months of complete light. Well, somewhere in between there and the equator, right, there is a specific point that would experience only 3 days of darkness. And I believe that this is where this is taking place, in Ennis, Alaska. Now, the story continues. She stumbles upon this research facility, and all the people are dead. But they can't find them. They just disappeared. And the person that discovers them is like a UPS guy. And he's like dropping off a package. And he's like, he needs someone to sign for the package. And everyone's dead. But he can't find them. And there's like a bowl of popcorn freshly popped. And it's still warm. There's a beer freshly opened. It's like something happened suddenly. So that's the first episode of this. And Jodie Foster's trying to figure out what happened to these people. But there's all these subplots and storylines going on. There's a Native American element, Eskimo element to this. You know, of course, they have to throw in like racial issues and stuff like that. But I can say this first episode was a pretty well done episode in terms of things we can draw from this. Also, confirmations of things we've been studying in the past. And it does keep your attention. These True Detective are pretty intense. So, that's the backdrop on True Detective, in case you were wondering what I was talking about when I showed the clip. All right, what else is going on? I'm back in the chat for just a minute. I don't want to keep you guys all day because I know you guys have family stuff to do and chores and all that stuff. Oh, Jodie Foster, producer of the time travel multiverse series Tales from the Loop. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks, Jackie. Huh. So there's something to that, isn't there? All right. Jeff wants to revisit X-Files. I think I did an X-Files playlist if you're interested in checking that out today. Probably 3 or 4 or 5 decodes I did on X-Files. All right. All right, you guys. I'll let you guys get back to it. Much love, everybody. Take care. Be safe.